Hey, welcome back to the AV Technologies YouTube show. Hope you're all well, bringing you the latest in AI news and sharing our views. So listen, if you're new to the show, hit the like, hit the subscribe, say hello in the comments. It costs you nothing to do that, but we appreciate it massively. So hit that like right now, please. I'm still waiting for you. Have you hit that like yet? Come on. I'm waiting. Come on, hit that like and subscribe while you're there. Thank you. Right, let's move on. Will, we've got an interesting story that is a little bit dystopian, very concerning. It's around privacy, something we're passionate about, something that everybody in this day and age needs to take seriously. So, Will, what is this story?
Let me share my screen. And yes, I echo your sentiment. I think this is going to be an interesting... If you're from America, for example, watching this, then this might come as a bit of a shock to you. It's a little bit of an insight into where we're heading in the UK and other European countries are heading. And this is about the new proposal that's been, it's been echoed around the EU for a little bit, but it's finally going to a vote on October 14th, I think, which is legislation about how, the European Union and the governments within can look at your chats, even end-to-end encrypted ones. Here we go. The European Union Council is once again debating its controversial message scanning proposal, aka chat control, that would lead to the scanning of private conversations of billions of people. Chat control, which EFF has strongly opposed, which is good. This is the organisation that is putting this article up, has strongly opposed. Since it's been passing around the European Union since 2022, but it's finally hitting a vote on the October 14th, and it basically allows for mandatory scanning for service providers to put in, backdoors to allow access to governments for mandatory scanning of end-to-end encrypted communication and storage services, and it's all under the guise, which we've heard before, is to protect the kids, which I understand that sentiment, but I doubt that it's as, I think it's a little bit more disingenuous than that. I don't think it's all about protecting the children, and I think there are better ways.
No, I mean, of course, that is hugely important. That is always our number one priority. But the reality is, we know, unfortunately, what governments tend to do. They tend to, psyop people into things. They tend to create chaos. They tend to create problems to implement what they truly want to implement. So I think we're a little bit more wise to it these days.
Yes.
Well, some of us are. There's still a lot of people who aren't, unfortunately. And I think we have to have a very, very strong sense of skepticism whenever we're being fed a line. And the danger is, of course, and the hard thing is for most people who just want to live a normal life, is it's wrapped up in these very, very powerful, very emotive umbrellas, shall we say. Hence, you're talking about the need to protect children. Who doesn't want to protect children, of course?
Well, but also I think
it's wrapped up in these very emotive things that you go, well, you must be mad not to want this.
I was saying, and if you speak out against it, suddenly you're on the back foot having to try and explain your position, because it's like, well, why wouldn't you want to protect children? Well, that's not what you're objecting against. That's not what you're saying. You're not saying you don't want to protect children. But so it makes it very hard to form an argument, because you're immediately on the defensive straight away because of the reason they've given you for wanting to do this. Now, this is tracking to a new level. This is the first time where it's going to be very strong, backed by legislation for mandatory tracking of even end-to-end encrypted services. So think WhatsApp, think Telegram, think Signal. The message service providers that you would ordinarily think you were relatively safe on. This would come under this effect, and it doesn't stop there. It's defined. They're still firming up what the definition of what should be tracked is. They label it as digital communication, and they're still firming up what that means.
Well, this is the danger with this types of legislation, where it's not clearly defined. It enables that scope creep, which is really, I think, what we're going to sort of move on to. Just briefly on Signal, I think I read that they're if this goes ahead, they're talking about pulling out of the EU. So
same with Telegram. Same with Telegram. Same deal there. And so that's great that these companies are willing to compromise their morals and the visions that they've built their apps on. However, what a dystopian world. Suddenly, one day we wake up and what was the case yesterday, where we could use whatever app we would like, could use Signal, could use suddenly it's not available anymore, can't use it, banned in your country. I mean, what kind of world are we living in where this is happening? And furthering that, as you said, they define this legislation rather woolly. Their definitions, aren't exact, allowing for easy bending of the rules. So we're not even rolling out things like chats with AI, ChatGPT, any other service providers. It's defined as digital communication, which could be anything. It could be crypto communication, because that's a network where you're exchanging information. It could be ChatGPT. It could be Gemini. It doesn't necessarily mean just messaging apps. Basically, this is a free pass to be able to scan all communications of every single person if they would like to. And then obviously that is what I strongly oppose.
Absolutely. And this is where, so guys, just to give you a bit of background, I saw this video, and it was a Bitcoiner talking about Bitcoin and talking about this legislation that's coming in. And the reason I guess the Bitcoiner was talking about it is because, I'm sure most of you will be familiar with Bitcoin, but for those who aren't, it's very much about financial freedom. It's money that's not in control of governments. It's money that can't be manipulated by governments. And it's self-sovereignty. It's about having, your independence financially. And that's where, so they're Bitcoin's very big proponents of privacy and security and things like that. So, and the reason this sort of jumped out to me was very much the communication, the very loose, woolly, broad framework of communication. And amazingly, the first thought I had was, holy crap. They're going to be literally having a backdoor to every private chat that you've ever had with ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever the AI is. If it has a centralized server, there is no doubt in my mind, and I suspect it's already happening, that there'll be a backdoor, and that communications will be scanned and information is going to be scanned. So whether you're a regular Joe sharing your innermost thoughts, or you're, a celebrity, sharing again your innermost thoughts, or you're, a CEO of a hedge fund, or you're, in the financial sector, or you're, in manufacturing, you've got some protected IP, or literally everybody should be concerned who cares about any element of privacy, that, even your personal thoughts and your personal rants, that, you're frustrated with your wife or your children or whatever, it's private. It's got nothing to do with anybody else, and none of that should be encroached upon. So whether it's at low level or high level, I have a big issue. And you look back, Will, just a few years, we used to be able to have private conversations, but and share our innermost thoughts. Now we have to be mindful of what we're saying in every type of, the only safe place is non-digital communications. So that's where it's headed. However, and I think this is very pertinent, is we're very much focused on building privacy first AI solutions.
I think this is the thing,
which is why again it jumps out to me. Yeah.
I think this is what we have to talk about, is because we can moan and groan about this kind of legislation, but the real thing that we should be saying is, well, what can we do about it? We could just sit back and complain and watch these laws pass and our freedoms tighten and get tighter and tighter and tighter. But if you're unhappy about that, I think we've got to do something about it, and that is what I get up and try and do every single day within the powers that I have, working in technology. I know you do the same. And as you said, one of the big things that we want to push within to combat the AI side of it is exactly that: on-device, private, local artificial intelligence that isn't mandated, that isn't restricted, that isn't scanned, isn't tracked, whatever you want to call it. It's yours. It's on your device. You can say whatever you want to it. The data never leaves. you can always get a response, and it works. And the end vision is for it to be as good, if not better, because of the added privacy protections, but as good as these frontier models running on servers. And I think we will get there. And again, I am increasingly passionate about different levels of distributed technology. I think this is something that we're also exploring is peer-to-peer technologies. These ideas that we can run services either on people's devices or distributed amongst many devices, so that we don't have this load bearing on centralized services. Because again, this is it. You take a company like Telegram, end-to-end encrypted messaging, and they obviously have a vision, for private freedom of expression. The EU comes along, more powerful than Telegram, and they say we need a backdoor. You're sort of hamstrung, aren't you? You either put the back door in and then everything's compromised, or you have to leave. You have to leave the market. So, as a company, you can't just say, well, for the best will in the world, you can say what you're going to do. But if you end up hamstrung by laws and governments, then you either can't operate or you're forced to play by the rules. So again, I think this further emphasizes having as much control on people's devices as possible, as well as distributed measures, so that if a big organization like the EU comes along, we actually can't. You can't. It's a distributed network. It's like try and take it down. You can take down one node, but you have millions of others. I think that's what we have to do. As technologists, we have to build these solutions now before we can't.
Absolutely. And I think there's a couple of things. Just to recap, for a lot of people, they still don't quite understand what on-device AI means. They can't grapple their heads around it. And I just want to sort of try and frame it for people who really haven't grasped the significance of what you've just said. And there's multiple things you've just said which are very significant. So guys, listen, it's an AI that is on your computer or on your phone. There's no connection to the internet. It doesn't need the internet. It doesn't need anything. It just runs on your phone without anything. So that is fantastic if you live in like an area with no internet, for example, or there's poor internet. But also it means there's instant responses, but there's nothing that's leaving your device. So I don't think I can say it any clearer than that. And that is very, very powerful. And of course, it goes against most big tech companies, because most big tech companies want you to, have to constantly rely upon them for, hence the business model, SaaS business models. Yeah. So it's very, very different approach. And I think the second point, Will, I think you're talking about, distribution. And again, for those who maybe aren't as au fait, we're talking about blockchain technologies. And again, this all links back to, I guess, Bitcoin being ultimate privacy. No government can stop Bitcoin, which is why governments are starting to think about adopting it, because they can't police it. And
I think both is the best way to frame it for people is that currently, right now, the best thing that you have is you go to a website or you send a message. What happens is you have your computer here, and then you have a middleman, a central server. That might be the company that's running it. That might be OpenAI if you're talking about AI. That might be Telegram if you're sending messaging. And then that central server then sends it on again to where it's going. So you all traffic, your device, server, end destination. What we're talking about is solutions that get rid of that central need for a server. It starts here on your device, and either it stays on your device because it can do everything on there. It doesn't need to actually ask a central company or a central server anything. It stays on your device here. And then if it does actually need to contribute to a network, then again, this is where the peer-to-peer technology comes in, is instead of sending it from my device to central server to end destination, it skips out this middle bit and just sends it straight to the end destination. That is peer-to-peer technology. That might be blockchain. that might be many other, there's many other different ways of doing that as well. Blockchain is just one of them. But those technologies, I think, are the ones that are important, the ones that skip out the need for this central center part. Whether that stays here and doesn't have to leave, or just routes directly to where it needs to go. I think these are the only ways to protect people's privacy and freedoms all over the world. In the long run. And again, 100%. This is a fight you're always going to be having, even if this bill by the EU gets chucked out. There's going to be a privacy issue somewhere down the line or in another country. It's an age-old adage of government overreach. Right? So I think this technology is just so valuable, regardless.
Definitely. Listen, let's wrap it up there. Well, I think we've pretty much covered it, but I think it's just really important that people are aware of what's happening. I mean, literally, we're talking about a vote in 8 days or whenever it is. So it's of the now, of the moment. This is happening, even if you've not heard of it. It's happening. So yeah, it's quite dystopian, but we're focused on trying to build solutions and give people optionality and choices. So listen, really appreciate if you're still here. Would love to know what you guys think. Is maybe it's something you're not even worried about. Maybe you go, yeah, what's the big deal? No worries. Let's hear what you got to say. Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll leave you and love you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll catch up with you on the next one. Take care, guys.
Cheers.